Welcome to But Jesus Drank Wine.
And other stories that kept us stuck. I'm Mead.
And I'm Christy.
And in this podcast, we'll explore the stories that kept us, well, stuck, wanting to drink and not wanting to drink all at the same time.
Join us as we show you that freedom from alcohol does not have to mean a life sentence of misery and missing out,
but actually means living an authentic life full of peace, joy, and purpose.
Hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome to another powerful episode of the But Jesus Drank Wine podcast. Today, I'm really honored to introduce our dear friend and community leadership team member, Heather Dillion. Heather is an attorney, a wife, and a mom of two living in Southern California. Raised in the church with loving Christian parents, her relationship with alcohol began in college as a way to socialize, and over time became a way to quiet her ever-active mind. Heather struggled with moderation for many years, and normally on this podcast, we don't talk about these big rock bottom moments, but today Heather's going to share hers with you. She had so much support from her husband and her therapist, found a traditional rehab outpatient treatment center where she started her journey to freedom from alcohol. With the strength of her faith in Jesus and commitment to doing the hard work, she now lives free from alcohol and is one of our beautiful leaders in our community. This is a really deeply vulnerable and powerful conversation, and I really, really hope that you will listen to Heather's story as she so bravely shares it. I would just like to say that this is not one for little listening ears, so if you've got kiddos in the car or in the kitchen or wherever you're listening to this, we'd recommend listening to this one on your own. She's going to speak honestly today about how her life unraveled and how she has rebuilt it. And it is just such a beautiful story of redemption, restoration, transformation, all the good things. I cannot wait for you to listen to this one. If you feel like you're silently struggling, feeling like you're the only one managing everything on the outside, but feeling super alone and broken on the inside, this episode is for you. And we hope it reminds you that you are not alone. Jesus is not afraid of your darkest moments and that freedom from alcohol is possible. Before we play Heather's episode, I just wanted to quickly remind you that in our beautiful But Jesus Drank Wine community, we have a very, very special space called The Missing Piece. The Missing Piece is a really special small group coaching space where we blend both neuroscience with scripture, and we deeply connect with other women in a way that's gentle but powerful. If you are tired, if you are sick and tired of white knuckling your way through and are craving a true heart transformation on your road to freedom from alcohol, then this small group might just be the exact coaching group that you're looking for. And the really, really cool thing is that when you join us in the Missing Piece, you get everything, all the wonderful things that we have going on in the community as part of that. So not only do you get small group coaching, but you get the Bible recap calls and the connection calls and our master classes and our prayer request spaces and all the beautiful things that are going on in the community. So we will link that in the show notes for you, my friend. And without further ado, here is my friend Heather Dillion's beautiful freedom from alcohol testimony. Oh, I'm so excited for this conversation with our friend Heather. Welcome, babe.
Thanks, friend.
Thank you so much for doing this. I know I've been bugging you to get you on here for a hot minute. Heather Dillion is here. And when you were just talking about this right now before we hit record about how God connected us, I was like, had a little bit of a goosebump moment because only God, right? So I had a girlfriend in law school that you knew because of working for...
I was working as a personal
Actress
assistant for an actress, correct. And it was in between my jobs. I was working in advertising, then I realized I wanted to go to law school, left advertising to study for the LSAT and take the classes. Long story, my employer wouldn't actually, this is kind of funny. She wouldn't let me take this time off. And my dad said, well, don't get fired, quit, like do the right thing. And so then I was looking for employment for this gap filler. And one of my friends said, oh, have you thought about being a personal assistant? So I was doing that knowing I was going to go to law school. And the actress I worked for had a good friend, which was our mutual friend, Lindsay, who I met a couple times and then we just started chatting. And so that's how I found you, through her Instagram or something.
Yeah, that's so funny. Heather and I both went to USC. We also both went to law school. And so we were following each other because of our mutual friend, Lindsay, and like liking each other's stuff. And you always posted cute stuff at the USC games. And so we were like Insta friends.
Yeah, and I was obsessed with you and this beautiful socialite life you had, according to Instagram.
According to Instagram, playing it really cool on the gram, making life look really glossy with a lot of alcohol. And then I started talking about my alcohol-free journey. And that was back in 2020, right? You reached out.
Probably. I was so deep in drinking in 2020 that I don't really remember seeing. I may have been like, that's cute, and kind of ignoring your content. It wasn't until 2021
Gotcha.
where I was still following you, but I think 2021 I followed your Love Life Sober page. And that's when I first reached out to you. I had a very heavy drinking trip in Hawaii and was like, I need to do something. And that's when you were just starting coaching.
Yeah. It's so cool because you were one of the people that spurred me on to keep talking because you were like, oh my gosh, I relate so much to this. And don't you remember you sent me that little video of you throwing the mama shark?
Yeah. The mama was like, Mama Shark needs a drink. And I never liked the mommy wine culture, even when I was a drinker. I still didn't like it. I was like, I don't like this. Like, and so I threw that away. What I did is you introduced me to the Annie Gray's This Naked Mind and the 30-day experiment.
Alcohol experiment. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, 30 days, I can do this. And so I did 30 days and I connected with you and I ended up doing 100 days. And that was during the time I really connected with you. And then towards the end, I was like, all right, I'm cured. Now I'm going to moderate. Spoiler alert, she was not cured. She ends up in rehab a couple months later, or a couple years later.
So take us back before the first 100-day stretch. How did the drinking feel before you hit that first, okay, I'm going to give this a try and see what life alcohol-free feels like?
So there was, I'm what would be considered like a high achiever, right? I'm an attorney. I was working at a national law firm. I was doing really well, progressing well, building my own book of business. I had my 2 kids, my girl and a boy, my college sweetheart husband, who also was a lawyer. We live in Southern California. You know, everything looked great. I've always suffered with, well, I shouldn't say always, about 8th grade is when I started getting really depressed and started self-harm. So, and I share that just to show like there's been this disconnect inside of me since I was a really young kid. And then high school, I drank a little bit, but I had really strict parents. It wasn't really a big thing until I got to college. And college, I actually went to a junior college first and then transferred to SC. And in the junior college, I had a boyfriend who was older and just kind of found this escape in alcohol. I have always been uncomfortable around people. I've never fit in. I've been a part of every little group. Like I was in drama. I was on newspaper. My best friend was a cheerleader. You know, I had all these different groups. I wasn't the lead in the play. I wasn't the main editor. I wasn't, ASB president. I was a treasurer, I think, something. But I wasn't ever, like, I just had a little piece in things. And I always felt that I didn't fit. And alcohol was that thing that made me feel like I belonged or that I stopped caring. And it was my escape. It was my freedom. I'm also ADHD. My brain constantly runs. It was the only thing that could calm my brain down, or so I thought, right? And so that's where it started. In college, it was more like feeling free. I met my husband in college, who was president of his fraternity. So there was a lot of drinking around what we were doing. But turns out my husband's a normal drinker. He can have a beer and that's it. I'm like, what are you doing? Don't you like that? What does that do for you? And progressively, it became more and more a part of everything I did. It was how I relaxed. It was how I celebrated. It was how I mourned. It was how, it was always there. And then it started getting to a place where once I started, I couldn't stop. And so it wasn't often, but when I would drink heavily and would wake up with this horrific anxiety and self-loathing, like I was not in a good place. I wasn't in a terrible place yet when I first reached out to you. I don't like what alcohol is doing to me. I'm nasty. I'm a mean drinker. I was awful to my husband, to my best friend, to family members. And so when I had reached out to you, I was finally like, okay, something's got to give here. I just need to learn how to be able to drink a few drinks. I knew it wasn't a couple. I thought like 3. Like 3 would be the magic number. So that's when I reached out to you. That was like, I just need to fix this. I just need to learn to moderate.
Mhm. On those first 100 days, what were some of the first things that you realized felt really good about not drinking?
It's so interesting to now that I've had like 2 batches of sobriety, right?
Yeah.
That one was never in my mind like this is forever.
Yeah.
So that was like, look at me, look at this cleanse I'm doing. Look at this healthy cleanse I'm doing. I did have more of, what they call like the pink cloud experience where I just felt brighter. I'm a pretty sarcastic and grumpy person. It's part of my personality. But like it was more like in my soul. Like I was really upset for a long period of time and I felt lighter. I felt happier, but I wasn't working on all the other things, right? I was outside more. I planted this lemon tree, which I love because, it wasn't years later till my real sobriety that I got my first lemons from it, which is just so metaphorical to me. But that was it. Like I felt better. I lost a ton of weight that time. I had, I remember 4th of July being in a bikini and high shorts, being like, dude, I look good. This is fun. And being able to drive my family home after fireworks was really cool. We went to a friend's house and just that freedom, but it still was just temporary for me. And I learned so much. I was in like the depths of Quit Like a Woman, This Naked Mind, Girl Walks Out. Like I read them all. And I liked them. And I know Christy, you and I have connected on this a bunch. I love the science around things. My logical brain enjoys reading about, look, this is what actually happens to your brain. And these are the receptors you're creating. And so that and understanding that you only get what's like 20 minutes on average of a high from alcohol, right? And you're like 20 minutes for how long? How much, do I have after that? So learning all of that was really, I think, critical to me to my plan later on. So that's where I was those 100 days, like deep into Quit Lit, not in my Bible.
Yeah. And your story is so relatable, right? Because how many gals do we know in our community right now that it takes them a few different times and a few different chunks of time and how amazing that you didn't give up, by the way, right? But talk to us.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't trying to get sober. I was trying to moderate.
Yeah. So talk to us about that attempt at moderation and as much as you're comfortable, like where it led.
Yeah. So that's where things went south, right? I remember my husband and I went out for a date and I was like, oh, this will be my break. It's 100 days. I can break it. And I had 2 glasses of wine. We were out in the South Bay. We walked home to my parents and I was like, this is lovely. I have this fun little buzz and just great, right? And then it progressively got worse pretty quickly. I think I was able to do that for maybe a month. And then I just went back to my old ways. I kept using it for everything. And that's, like we said earlier, it was for celebrations. It was for mourning. It was for everything in between. And then I'd be like, all right, I'm not drinking during the weekdays. I'm only drinking on the weekends. I'm working out a ton. I'm still doing great at work. But something was still, when I would drink, it'd be too much. It was after the kids would go to bed and I would drink. And then I would, if I opened a bottle of wine, I'm finishing that bottle of wine, whether or not my husband was sharing it with me or not. And then I got recruited to go to a different law firm and they threw a ton of money at me. It was a phenomenal opportunity. And I went. And I will tell you, as soon as they started recruiting me, something felt in me like this was, what am I doing? Why am I chasing money? I'm happy where I am. I'm at a really good firm now. And this was a really good firm. Like this was not on the firm by any means. It just wasn't my place. So I went there. I was traveling a ton. My daughter told me that when she grew up, she wanted to be a teacher, not a lawyer, because she wanted to be with her children more.
Oh, babe.
And all of these things that were just pulling at me. But I liked the travel. Like I got to go to New York as an adult for free, right? I got to do these things that was cool, but I was then drinking in a hotel room by myself and like drinking a lot. And then it got to the point where I was sinking it. And honestly, during it, I was like, meh, it's fine. This is where I am. I'd like rush home before my husband got home so I could have a quick cocktail before he and I opened a bottle of wine so that I could have a little extra because that half bottle of wine wasn't going to be enough. And I didn't want him to judge me when I said, Hedley, let's open another one or get in a fight with him, right? I was blacking out a lot. And I would wake up having no idea what happened. And my husband would be like, you were so nasty to me. I was absolutely bankrupt inside. I was in such a dark place. And I mentioned my self-harm early on. I tried to kill myself when I was 18 by taking like 100, I don't know, opened up a bottle of Advil and just started taking it down. I was in college. My roommate found me, called 911. I had to drink charcoal, all that. And that was the first time my parents had any idea that anything was going on mentally, because I'm really good at hiding things. Even in this last trip, I had so many friends being like, I had no idea you were that bad. Like, well, I'm a little bit manipulative when I want to be, right? I can swing any sort of story. And, I realized I was absolutely just self-destructing. I hated myself. I was trying to figure out the best way I could kill myself without scarring my children. Which way would hurt them the least? And my husband even said to me when I told him when I was in treatment, and I said to him, I think I was suicidal. He was like, you were. Like every night that I would drink too much, I would tell him I wanted to kill myself. And it was just this cycle of pain and fear for him that he had to live through so much. And I really felt that people would be better without me, that it was just, I had no space here anymore. And I really believed it, guys. I really did. And I really thought that my kids would be just fine. And listen, they would be. God and my family would help them through, but that's not the point, right? But I also know they're so much better with me now. So anyways, fast forward, I'm drinking way too much. And one morning I get up and I pour whiskey in my coffee mug. And that day I checked into rehab. And that was the breaking point. My husband was screaming at me because this was like a year of it being bad. And I said, I need help. We called my therapist multiple times. And then she found a rehab facility in Newport Beach, Costa Mesa area. And that was just for women. And they got me in the next morning. So, which was a total godsend. I never thought I would be in rehab. I went into rehab like, I'm not going to know anyone. I am going to put my head down and get fixed and be out. But I will tell you, I knew I was done drinking. I knew. I was like, I'm done. I can't. There's no moderation. Like if I drink again, I'm going to drive off a bridge. And that was really, truly was where, and I would be sober. Like, would that bridge be a good one? Would this be the best way to do it? I wouldn't hurt anyone else, right? And then my family members wouldn't have to find me. That's the law enforcement, and they do that all the time. Like those were the things that went through my head. And my husband and I actually drove past, there was a jumper recently on a freeway. And I think I messaged you woman about it because I was just so shaken. My husband was like, are you okay? We didn't see the person at all. I don't even know if they actually jumped. We just knew it was closed and we saw like the pad below the bridge. And it took me a solid 30 minutes because I just was like, oh, buddy, I was there. And like feeling that grief and understanding, how empty people feel when they get to that point. Mm-hmm. And just like, I could have been, but for the grace of God, like that could have been me. So I go to rehab. I go in with my like barefoot blanket stream, right? If you guys don't know, it's like ridiculously overpriced fluffy blanket over my head, curled in.
Overpriced blanket, you definitely has it.
What'd you say? I definitely have it. I have 3 of them. They're ridiculous, but they're amazing.
What color? What color? Why don't I have one?
Right, they last like a year, which makes it even more ridiculous because they're so expensive. But as soon as you wash them, they're not great.
What are they called?
Barefoot Dreams.
Okay.
So
when I get to California this summer.
I was cocooned in my like bougie blanket going into rehab, and this woman walks up to me, I'm giving you the picture, right?
Love it.
With my Louis Vuitton probably too. And then I go in and we go into detox, which is like a house for women who are just detoxing. So you're coming down from, whatever substance you're on. And this woman walks up to me who has a half-shaved head, piercings all over, a neck tattoo. And I'm like puffy and crying. And she was like, oh, we're going to talk. And I was like, no, we're not.
No, we're not.
No, I got here to just getting well and getting out, lady. She turned out to be one of my closest friends. Yeah, it was so special. I literally just sat on my bed crying, and one of the other women came in and was like, hey, come sit out with us. It helps. And I was like, no, like I just am cocooning and crying until I'm all healed, and then I'm leaving. It turns out connection's really important for healing. And so they pulled me out, and I sat in this family room basically for 2 days with these women just detoxing and crying and watching TV. And then once you get out of detox, then you either go to in-house, which is they have a bigger house there that has, a ton of rooms. Or my case, I had negotiated with them, as one does while drunk, to do outpatient. And I was like, I will not go in for 30 days. I can't leave my kids. And honestly, the 4 days of me being gone was really hard on my daughter. She still kind of talks about it. So then I did outpatient for, I think, like 60 days. First, what's called IOPs, which is intensive outpatient, I think, program, maybe. And that was essentially 8 hours of treatment a day in person. I got there at 8:30, had lunch, and then went till 3:30. And during that, they talked to you like, hey, you need to figure out how you're going to keep your program. They're really big on AA. I think most treatment centers are really big with AA. And so when we would do AA meetings, I found an AA meeting on a Monday night. I realized women only was my jam. I did not want to deal with men. I did a couple AA meetings with men and I was like, And what's funny is I'm a guy's girl. Like I was that girl that got along better with guys majority of my life. I've turned out to be quite the girl's girl now. I need my ladies. I need my women. So I found an AA group that I liked. And they were like, you really need to find something. And I was like, I don't love it though. And it was at 5:30. And I knew I had to go back to this life of a lawyer, and getting to a meeting at 5:30 on a Monday means you're leaving at like 4:45. It's not happening, right? In my world. Or I knew I wouldn't prioritize that happening. And so then I found Christy. Then I reached out to you and was like, hey, so I'm in rehab. And I had to figure out what's next. And I feel like you would help me with the what's next, because I saw your life and I saw the joy that you had. And that was my problem with AA, is that there was so much helplessness. And to be fair, I was also pissed. I was pissed that I was never going to be able to drink again. And so I had a lot of that anger too. And I saw you living this life where you seemed happy and you kept saying freedom through alcohol. And I was like, I want that. I hate cilantro. I promise this is going somewhere. I hate cilantro. I'm one of those people that it tastes like soap, like I'm missing an enzyme.
Me too.
You're that person too?
Yeah. Yes.
And we're missing an enzyme.
How weird. Wait, so how do you make guacamole?
Without cilantro.
It's delicious.
All right. Okay.
But no cilantro. Cilantro completely ruins meals for me.
Okay.
Same. If it's touching something, if I get pho and it has it in it, I'm like, well, there goes that. It's just intolerable to me. And I had this weird realization where I was like, you know what? I want alcohol to be like cilantro. Chrissy, you can have your guacamole with cilantro. That's fine. I think you're wrong and it's disgusting, but that's fine. But I'm going to have mine without. And it doesn't affect me, right? I don't care if you have cilantro. That's where I wanted to get with alcohol. And that's where I felt like you were. So I was like, okay, this is the person. I'm going to follow her to tell me what to do. And we had done some coaching, but I wasn't trying to get free from alcohol. I was trying to moderate. Yeah. And now I was in this new space where I was like, no, alcohol and I are done. We're not friends. I can't do this again. I was suicidal. I would get drunk and cut myself with my nails just because I'd be so mad at myself. And I would sit there and claw at myself and wake up like, ouch, I slept with a cat. It was so bad. And so I knew like, I can't get there anymore. I have a daughter and a son. And, it's specifically my daughter she's older and she's 8, but, older than my son. And I need to learn how to regulate my emotions in a healthy manner so I can teach her. How can I teach her when I'm this way? So I saw that, and then you had a 6:30 a.m. Tuesday morning meeting, and I was like, I could do that. That will work in my schedule, because then I can work out at 5:30. I can make it there by 6. I was on Zoom at 6:30. Kids get up at 7:40, and then I'm off to work. Let's go. And that was when we really reconnected, and it was just a whole different world, right? Because this time I was like, I'm not drinking. I have to fix everything else. And found the community through there. And you were like, join But Jesus Drink Wine. I was like, it doesn't fit with my schedule. And you were like, that's nice. And join the community.
Literally dragged you, kicking and
Join anyway.
Yeah. So that's how I ended up here the second time.
Talk to us a little bit about how God played a part in all of this.
What part didn't he play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you notice the part that he was playing?
So I was praying to either let me die or get me free. And that was my prayer. Like, God, let me die or get me free. And, I hate that I hit a rock bottom. I hate that I, drink out of a coffee cup in the morning. My rock bottom was pretty public and dangerous. And that's why my husband was screaming at me, right? Until it turned and you realized, oh my gosh, we need help. Like, this wasn't her just trying to have fun. This is a problem. And just completely surrendering and saying, my dad said to me, he was like, well, you found your testimony. I'm like, thanks, Dad. Like, that's just, how am I getting
Bad thing to say.
such a Christian dad thing? Like, here's your testimony. My mom had a much harder time with it. My mom, both her parents were alcoholics and both died from alcoholism and both like abandoned her. So her thing was just, why are you drinking? Like, think about your children. I was like, Mom. But then I realized my mom was in her 70s. Sorry, Mom, if you listen to this. And, it made me realize that her mom died when she was 13. So call it like 50-ish years ago. For 50 years, my mom thought that her mom chose alcohol over her and didn't really grasp the science behind it all. And this was back in the day when she didn't have the resources that I'm so blessed to have now. And it gets to a point where it's not a choice anymore. Yes, it is a choice to pick up that first drink. It is a choice. But I will tell you that I was not in my right mind that last 6 months. And understanding the science behind it and what it does to your brain, it literally changes your brain. Learning that and seeing that and understanding that and then doing the work to rewire your brain, which for me was like surrendering to God and just taking in everything. Like, God, show me what I need to see. Like, let me be a vessel. I don't ever want to be back in that place. That place sucks. It's a really, really creepy, awful place to be in. And I just wanted peace. My brain is one of those that I'm constantly going, right? And since turning to God, and for me, that was every morning getting up early, reading my devotional and my Bible, which, by the way, you guys, my dog ate last week.
Your devotional or your Bible?
Oh
my gosh.
How rude. It's filled with the Holy Spirit. And my Bible was a tabbed Bible. My mom tabbed it for me. If you know how hard and special tabbed Bibles are.
Yes.
And with all your highlights and oh gosh.
Yeah, a year of recovery in it too. It's always so when you open your Bible and a verse and it's already underlined, you're like, oh, I've been here before. Like, there's something.
Yes. That's why I always put mine in my carry-on, not in my suitcase, because what if something happened to it? I
never touched it. Yeah. And he absolutely destroyed it. So
oh my gosh.
I'm praying for a new Bible from my mom tabbed for Easter. So we'll see if she's proud of me. But it's been, for me, it's every morning getting up and spending time in the Word. It's gratitude. I did months of therapy. And for me, so I was in a secular therapy place, and AA tries to be secular. AA is based in Christianity, but they've really changed it to, they say, your higher power, to God or whatever your higher power may be. And for me, my higher power is God. So like that was an easy grab for me. Like, all right, God, I'm here. We did like sound baths and Reiki and all of this other stuff that may seem a little like woo-woo to people or secular, but for me, I used it to connect with God. So it was my deep meditations, and meditating's in the Bible, right? It's your deep meditation prayers with God. It's the hearing these sounds and what it does to your body. And so I was all in. I was like, listen, if I'm not all in, I'm dead. So I got to be all in. And I feel grateful that I have that. I had actually someone ask me yesterday, do you miss it? And you miss drinking, right? And there are times when I'm like, I just want to get effed up. Excuse me. But that's where my brain goes sometimes, right? Like I want to sing. It's like I want to numb. I want to just be blab for 20 minutes. But I know what it does to me after. And I know that's not where I want to be. And I know that it will kill me. And, she said to me, like, you're kind of lucky that, because she's trying to moderate, right? And she's like, you're kind of lucky that it's black and white for you. And I said, I am. But I wish I would have taken an off ramp sooner, right? Like, you don't need to get to the point that I got to. And that's been another weird part for me in sobriety, again, is the fitting in. Like, there are so many things that could have happened to me, but for the grace of God. So in AA, I feel a bit weird because I'm like, and I'm so privileged. I come from, I'm an attorney. I have a roof over my head. I've never had food insecurities. I have, a lot of comfort. So I felt a bit, what the heck is wrong with me? How did I end up here when I've had all of these things provided to me? And yet I'm in the same room of someone who, is a refugee or who's been homeless for months or, whatever it may be. And then to turn then to like the Christian community or this like gray area drinkers where I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not a gray area. I'm red button. Stop. So it's been another weird spot of where do I belong? And working through that now without numbing, right? Working through that with like, all right, God, maybe I belong in all of these spaces. And I've definitely pulled things from different spaces and just understanding that I pull and give and I don't have to be everything to everyone. So I don't have to be there, the clone.
I've seen you bless people in your various spaces. Like you've told us about the conversations you've had in your A groups, and I've seen what you've done in our community. So there's so many people right now that are going to listen to this and relate to that, babe. Like we need more of your
varied stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that is what's special in this community and in the sober community generally. Like you can find your people, and they don't need to be your exact person, right? I'm in this other group right now that's all about women pushing themselves. Not even women, it's men as well. Sorry, we just happen to be 90% women. And it started by this woman who owns this cute boutique that I love. And one of my girlfriends was like, hey, join this with me. I'm like, what? I'm already in like AA but Jesus Drink Wine. Like, do I need another community? It has been such a special spot for me. It turns out a lot of people who are looking to grow themselves don't drink heavily or at all and love Jesus. Like it's not a Christian sober group, but there were a handful of Christian sober individuals in that group and many who didn't hit a rock bottom. I don't know that anyone has shared people have shared some stories with me in that, but not, to where I was. So it's really neat just finding, and that's why I've been with this, like, all right, God, where do you want me to go? Where do you want this to lead me to? And let me just for once listen to you and let you take the wheel. And so that's what I'm working on is just being in this new space. But man, there's a peace that I've never had. I take naps. I never took naps.
Yeah.
It's a perfect day. Like I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to read and take a nap. Like I'm at that much of a peace mentally that I can nap on the sofa next to my kids playing. And not just like pure exhaustion. Just like I'm at peace. I'm snuggly. I'm comfortable. I know who I am. I'm still weird. I'm still loud and obnoxious, but now I know it's who I am and not this drunk version of me. I still have so much fun. I have so much fun and I don't miss it. I don't. Like I said, there are times where I'm like, oh, I just want that quick escape. And I don't have that easy button, but the easy button was really hard for me on the back end. I paid for it immensely. I don't even know what your question was.
Yeah, I think we were on, where did you see God? Everywhere.
Imagine stepping into a vibrant, warm community where faith, friendship, and freedom from alcohol all come together. That's exactly what you'll experience in the But Jesus Drank Wine community.
Each week, our members gather for connection calls that feel like a breath of fresh air, a time to share, grow, and support one another.
With an encouraging leadership team, a dedicated prayer request space, and connection opportunities in every time zone, you don't have to walk this journey alone.
Plus, we bring you masterclasses with expert guests, optional book clubs and Bible studies, and so much more.
And for those ready to go even deeper, we offer a small group coaching space called The Missing Piece. With weekly recorded coaching calls, it's a supportive place for women committed to breaking free from alcohol.
We're here to hold space for sober and sober-curious women who love Jesus or are eager to reconnect with him. Wherever you are on your path, you'll feel seen, supported, and strengthened here.
As one member described, quote, the BJDW community is unique because there's a connection between faith and freedom from alcohol that I haven't been able to find in any other online space or through my church.
Ready to join the sisterhood? Head over to butjesusdrankwine.com/community or click the link in the show notes to learn more. We can't wait to meet you. Can you tell about going then back to your original firm?
Yeah. So that was a really hard decision because the firm I was with for that small period of time was really phenomenal to me on my leaves. I said, someone told my husband probably, she's going to rehab. And they gave me a phenomenal leave. It helped me. And I felt this, I owe it to them to go back. Like, I'm so thankful for them. And that was a lot of prayer. And everything, well, okay, I'll go back for a year. And then I'll go back to my current firm, right? And it was going to be a big pay cut to go back to my old firm because I was at a full service firm and a national or international firm. They just tend to pay a little better because they have different groups. I'm an employment lawyer, different groups that bring in, like the M&A groups bring in a ton of money. And so you're able to get paid a little better. And I went back and forth, prayed a lot about it. And then my old managing partner reached out to me and she's like, hey, let's get lunch. And I was like, okay, let's get lunch. So I got lunch with her, and I think it was the Monday after I had finished rehab or it was my last week or something. And she was like, how are you? And I was like, well, I'm in rehab. And I told her everything, and she goes, oh, well, come home. And she shared stories of family, and it was just so effortless. And then we started talking about life and work, and just knowing that I could go to her with that honesty, and then I would be like, okay, let's fix this. And then telling my old firm was really hard. And I went in person, and, she was a bit upset with me at first. She's like, I just told everyone you were coming back. Thought this was our meeting. And I said, I know, but I wanted to tell you in person. I didn't feel like this was an email because I'm just so grateful for the grace. She goes, I read Quit Lit. Like, she wasn't a big drinker, but she goes, she'd prepared everything for me to come back and be sober. Like, that's how phenomenal this woman was. She then was so kind and was like, well, this sucks. And I didn't at that time fully know that I was going back to my current firm. I just knew that that wasn't the right place for me. And so I made that break. And I said to her, I was like, I wish you'd be awful to me. And she said, not a chance. I mean, I really was just blessed. And I went in the elevator saying the serenity prayer, which is actually like a beautiful prayer when you think about it. And if it's to you and God, like, God, just take control. Show me what I'm meant to do. Let me just trust you is, what it is at the core. And so she was good. And then I went back to my firm, and I've been slowly telling people, I just told people I wasn't drinking anymore. And then kind of slowly sharing my story a bit more. Actually, one of our women in our Freedom for Alcohol group, she said, can I talk to you about, I was still deciding. And she talked to me about both firms. She's an attorney. She's retired now. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. She's retired now, but she called me and said, and she knew both firms, and she was like, go back to your old one. She's like, from what I've heard you say, knowing both firms, yes, they're both great opportunities, but you're going to create whatever, wherever. That was more your people. And it was my managing partner is a Christian, and obviously we share it quietly, not quietly, but it's not, it's our conversations. We have a very diverse group of people we work with, which is so neat. And it's just been an absolute godsend that door was still open. And that was the other thing. I was in rehab with 2 6-figure job options, right? And other people are like, I'm going to try to work at Trader Joe's. And you're sitting here, and that's one of the really big things that messes with me is because I sit there and I'm like, what is wrong with you? You have all of this, and yet you're destroying things. And then that creates a cycle of you're a horrible person, and just really turning that over to God and just understanding that addiction and the devil doesn't care how privileged or intelligent you are. He'll still come for you.
Well, how convenient for him to use that as a means for separating you from yourself and from God, because feeding that lie, or feeding that story, I can relate to it. I can totally relate to it sometimes where I'm like, wait a minute, that's not from God. So whose voice is that?
Right. Well, and I think I was listening to Kelsey's episode, and, I don't know if it was Christy or you meet or Kelsey who said it, but there's that extra element too of being a Christian where you're like, I know better.
Yeah.
I'm called by God. What am I? How dare I? And, she said too that now she goes to God and she's like, instead of hiding in that shame, and the shame is really what was at my anxiety, the shame, the disconnect as to who I knew I was and this person that I'd become, and hiding those things and not facing my depression, anxiety, my fear, my, unhappiness in certain things, and having the shame of it. And now being able to be like, God, look what I did. My bad. You helped me through this. And there's, I've made mistakes since, and I've gone forward and been like, hey, I messed up here. This was not my greatest moment as a friend, as a mother, as a wife, and just being in that freedom. And there's still anxiety of, admitting you're wrong, but I don't have that literal chemical anxiety that's created by alcohol depletion, and able just to go in it authentically and true to God and myself and just work through it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's so calming. It's so much easier, guys.
Yeah.
So much easier.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be so much easier. And today's 13 months, actually, to the day. But 13 is my number, ladies. I was born.
Whoa. Looking. Okay.
I know. So today's 13 months. And guys, that's just, it is, I am free. I am free from it. I'm so grateful for our community. I'm grateful for the other communities that I have. And just that I can operate at a level where I'm not thinking about killing myself is huge. That I can operate at a level where I know I'm not perfect and that's okay. And that I can just be free is pretty cool.
Can you speak? We're going to land the plane, but I want to just, for the woman that's in the dark place right now, that doesn't feel like there is any hope, that is the rock bottom or rock bottom adjacent.
Yeah.
What would you say to her?
Get out. You don't have to stay where you are. You don't have to stay. And your brain is lying to you. These thoughts you're having are not real. Sometimes your brain plays tricks on you. Find a community. Give yourself a shot. Give it a shot to see if you can get out. Give yourself, 3 months of not drinking? And do the work. Do the work. See the therapist. Find your pastor. Find the community just to really give it, just try. Just see. I thought there was no out for me. I thought this is where I was going to live. And then when I went to treatment, I was like, well, I guess I have to do this sober. I'm just going to be depressed. And now I'm not. I don't need antidepressants. I'm weaning off my anxiety medication. I just feel so good. I feel so good. And I'm at peace that I don't think I ever had the peace I have. It's so cool to be on this side. And life is not perfect. Life is still really freaking hard. I run a very busy life too. I'm constantly, between things, but you can do it. That awful dark hole is not real. You have to crawl yourself. You have to do the work to crawl yourself out of it. No one's coming for you, babe. It's you. You're it. You're your knight in shining armor. I mean, it's God, right? But it requires you turning to God, and you have to do it to get yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always think stories like yours, Heather, thank you so much for sharing and being so willing to share. I think all of our stories, they're similar, but they're all unique in a way that is helpful for other people to go, okay, I can relate to that in a way that I didn't relate to this or whatever. But I always come back to too, when you said, someone asked you, do you miss it? And you said, well, yeah, I have these moments where I'm like, yes, I just want to numb. I want to be out of this. And that's where I would say the alcohol is just the thing that represented that for all of us. All humans hit points where the pain is a lot, the suffering is a lot, and we feel like we can't take it. We're overwhelmed. And if we haven't learned tools of emotional regulation, if we haven't learned, healthy coping skills, then we all have those moments. And so I even just take it to, thinking about what's underneath that. And that's why it's so important to connect with people that have done that work of finding other things to manage that overwhelm, that wanting to numb, and it doesn't, slowly kind of break that tie that it's all about the alcohol, right? And so,
right.
And
there's, like you said, we all deal with it and learning. So we did a lot of what's called DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, which is all about distress tolerance, and learning those distress tolerance skills are so crucial. And it can be a box breathe, and there are times where I'm literally in my office and I'm like just doing, and I'm picturing in my head box breathing in a box.
Yeah.
Yes. And, or there's time when I I have to go for a walk, or I just need a senses, identify something that you see, that you smell, that you hear, just it's that. And I'm that person that gets really I boil over. And that's when I was drinking, my water level was here. So it took this to boil over. I'm done here. So even though I got a lot of room now to boil before I topple over, right? And you can figure out, all right, I'm here, let's simmer. And you know how to calm it down before it tops over. And it's through all of those things, it's in our breath. And that's why, breath work, I saw something recently. I'm like, it's a God thing. God talks about breathing throughout the Bible. Your senses, which he gave you, going outside. We have this silly woodpecker that's out, and I love this darn thing. And every time I hear it, I'm like, where is it? And it brings... I'm a crazy bird lady now, but the joy that you feel from these things that God gave you, but finding those, learning those tools. And listen, we all need those tools. We all do. We all need to know how to, even my husband, who's super cool and calm. I'm like, yo, you need to work on your distress tolerance. The kids are, and he's like, don't therapize me. I'm but it's true. There are all of these tools that look into DBT, look into these different ways that you can, because for the longest time too, sorry, I know I'm rambling here, but the longest time too, I was told, turn to God. And I was like, guys, that's not working. And it's because I wasn't open and willing there. And I needed more okay, well, here's your endorphins are doing this, all these different things to then make me realize how to get to God. But I needed actionable steps and not this to then felt like an elusive turn to God.
Yeah.
Now
Science and God
so
can
good, babe.
coexist. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good. Well, I want to ask you for a tiny Tina, but I feel like you just gave so many, but I feel like get curious, right? Like that's what you basically just said of all these different things, all these different ways that you can. Yeah. But what would you say?
At first listening to Kelsey, I was like, shoot, I need to do a Tina. And it's, community, finding your community. But really, I think since talking to you both, it's get to work. And that work is finding your community. That work is figuring out how to use distress tolerance. God gave you the ability to save yourself. So it's time to do it. You got to pick yourself up and figure this out, because it's not the life. That hamster wheel is not the life to live.
Amen to that.
You don't have to. You don't have to live that life.
Yeah.
There's another way.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
good,
Heather.
babe. Thank you so much.
We love you so
we
much.
Love you. We appreciate you. Come hang out with all three of us in the community. Heather is just such a beacon of light in there, constantly encouraging our gals. And so we're so grateful for you, babe. Thank you.
So grateful for this community.
All right, gals, we will see you next Monday. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. You can find all of our episodes at butjesusdrinkwine.com, and be sure to follow us over on Instagram, Love Life Sober, and I'm Not Sober, I'm Free.
To learn more about what we do, you can visit our websites, meethollandshirley.com and lovelifesober.com.
Take a screenshot of this podcast and share it with a friend or two.
And don't forget to subscribe to our pod so you don't have to worry about missing a single episode. And if you love what we're doing, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify.
This helps more women who are feeling stuck and alone in the overdrinking cycle find hope and encouragement.
Thanks, ladies. We so appreciate you, and we'll see you next Monday.